Hi, I'm Stephanie,
And I'm Justy, and
and
together
together
we're
we're
losing
losing
it.
it. We've each lost over 100 pounds with the help of diet, exercise, and breaking bad habits. And I also had weight loss surgery in 2020.
And I recently had skin removal surgery.
We're just sharing our journey and what we've learned throughout the process.
And we're not doctors, so if you have any medical questions, reach out to your doctor.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here today to talk to you about urges, kind of what they are, I guess a little bit about what might bring it on, what to do when urges come on, um, just like how to handle it. We all have them. I had some today. I think it's going to happen on a daily basis, especially, anyone listening to this is obviously trying to control their weight and, remain healthy. And so we think about food a lot. And so what do we do when we have those urges? So to get started, I'm going to kick it over to Justy and I'm going to let Justy kind of talk about what an urge actually is.
Yeah. So, like Steph said, we all have them, but an urge is a strong desire or an impulse. And we, unfortunately or fortunately, I guess it depends on how you look at it, have food urges, right? Or that's what made us be overweight or as overweight as we were. A lot of people have urges. Some people alcohol, some people sex, some people, shopping, which is something I'm
Multiple, right.
kind of dealing with right now. So they're normal. And I think that's the first thing that when dealing with my urges, I had them mostly at night, but realizing, okay, this is going to happen. It's always going to happen. And instead of wishing it away or giving into it and saying, oh, I'll do better tomorrow, just realizing that it's going to happen and then work on how to deal with it and work on noticing them and understanding what I'm going to do when they happen and learning how to not beat myself up when I do give into an urge. So I think that's kind of what we're going to talk about at first. And I think what I have on my notes was kind of leading up to an urge. And I can definitely talk about mine and then maybe Steph can talk about hers. But for me, like I said, it's at night. It's usually because I'm alone and I live alone
Is
with my
it
dog.
wanting something sweet? Because that is me. I want something sweet at night.
Yeah, it's usually something sweet or carbs. I don't know why,
Yeah,
but I just crave like
right.
French fries at night. And it's very sudden. It's kind of like I'm sitting there and then all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, chocolate or ooh, this. And it's a very sudden thing. And it's like almost like I have to have it. And I think it's because my body is saying, okay, stop, thinking how lonely you are or the stress that you had today, and let's get that dopamine before you go to bed. I think that's
And
kind of what my body's saying.
it's never, ooh, broccoli,
Right. No, no,
right?
no, no. It's always,
Ooh, I
yeah.
could go for a big plate of broccoli.
Right, right. And so actually the funny thing is I do have snacks in my refrigerator that are for those urge because like they're a better option than
Right.
what I'm craving or the urges that I have. But yeah, mine are usually at night. Actually, almost always at night around 7 o'clock. And so the first step to me kind of combating my urges was just recognizing that I'm going to have this. It's going to be at night. What do I do now? And that was kind of the first step for me. And then what I decided to do was kind of just have a plan. So, what are some things I'm going to tell myself when the urge comes up, with the dialogue I'm going to have with myself, and then I'm going to give myself some healthier options. Um, but I gave up on the fact that I wouldn't want one of these urges to go away. If you're going to, that's never going to happen. That bitch
Right.
isn't showing up tomorrow. The urgeless
Right.
bitch is not showing up tomorrow because you wish
46
her to
years
be
worth of
there.
urges. Yeah, they're not going away.
Right. So she's gonna come back tomorrow. So let's figure out how to deal with it instead of wishing it away. And I think, a lot of situations in my life are kind of that way where I kind of avoid things and kind of wish them away. So we're taking urges head on. And that's my urges are still there. And I'm sure in like yours are too, Steph, right?
Right. Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
definitely less.
I will say Manjaro, honestly, when I was taking Manjaro, much less. I just didn't think about food. But
Yeah,
we only stayed on it as long as we needed to. And it's like we
mhm,
knew we were going to deal with cravings and urges again. So we just had to
right,
get comfortable with it. And so it's like we knew it was coming back for
right.
sure. But it was nice to not have them. I'll say that. It's almost like not having a period for a while. Like that was great. Right.
Right,
It's coming back.
right. Well, and for me, I talked a little bit about recognizing. So I recognize when it's going to happen. It's going to happen at night. It's going to be something sweet or carby. So I already know that. So the one thing that I did to kind of combat that is to have some snacks. So I have like protein pudding. I've gotten to a habit of having like a hot tea at night, that sort of thing. But more importantly, I think it's the dialogue that I've kind of learned to have with myself. And I've talked about it multiple times, but if I'm ever like, oh, I feel like chocolate, um, I gotta just take a step back and just kind of take a deep breath and be like, okay, why are you feeling like chocolate right now? Like, what happened today? Or how are you overly tired, which I have been lately? Are you just lonely? Like, what is the reason? And is that chocolate going to make you feel better about that reason? Probably not.
Right.
And so, and then instead of talking myself into it like I used to when I was 300 pounds, I talk myself out of it. And so that's the difference of the narrative in my head. Instead of, oh, well, you can just start tomorrow. Oh, it's just one chocolate. Oh, it's just, they're here. You might as well eat them. All those things I used to tell myself, I now tell myself the opposite of this isn't going to fix you, what you're feeling right now. You're going to feel like shit later. It's not, it's going to turn into a cycle. You're going to spiral out of control. What you want most is to be healthy instead of this chocolate right now. So, it's really about the dialogue that I have with myself now.
Yeah. And I'm going to take it back a few steps even more than that. So yours, I do get the nighttime one too, where it's almost like, and I think part of it was growing up where we would have dinner. We had dinner as a family. You know my family.
Right.
We're the few probably that actually sat down as a family and had dinner. But there was always some kind of like a dessert too. Like we always
Mhm.
had something. It may have just been like a popsicle. It may, who knows what it was, but there's always like, so, as an adult, it's kind of like, okay, where's my treat? Like, where's my dessert?
Mhm.
There should be something. And then we come from restaurant industry where the restaurant in particular that we came from, our higher ups were very big on anytime we had a meeting, there should always be something sweet, like
Right.
because you should have something sweet after you eat. So we rolled out lunch and they're like, well, we need to have something sweet. There should be like cookies or something. So it's like we just come from a culture of even me as a child, there's always like something sweet to follow up with. So that for me is a nighttime thing for me too. Which and I can't wait to have my Ninja Creamy back. When I have that, I'm good to go because I'm eating protein shake that I just turned into, ice cream. Um, but also for me, working from home, I get bored a lot.
Mhm.
So while I'm busy with work, I'm home by myself with my thoughts in the
Mhm.
kitchen. And I'm just like, oh, I could go have, I think there's some cookies in there, or like, where I've already had lunch or I've already had breakfast. And it's like, I'm not hungry, but my mind is hungry. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what? Well, there was a little bit of leftover of, that cake from or something. And it just like it talks to me. And those are
Mhm.
the urges that I have. It's something just calling me and they're out of nowhere. But to take it even more back than that, this is something we were talking about too. If I don't get the proper sleep,
Mhm.
my mind will talk to me more because I'm tired and I'll overeat. If I'm not hydrated properly, my
Yeah, I was just
mind will
about to say
talk to me more.
hydrated. Mhm.
Yeah, and then I'll want something to eat, but I'm not hungry. I'm thirsty, but I don't leave. I'm travel like a weirdo with like three, I've got a Gatorade, I've got a bottle of water, I have my coffee, I've got like all these drinks with me. So, staying hydrated, getting to sleep. I know it's really takes it back to basics, but that's the things where I notice if I'm not doing those things,
Mhm.
if I didn't start my day out with like a well-rounded breakfast. And I know sometimes you don't eat breakfast at all.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't eat breakfast at all, but let's say the other day I had a bowl of cereal for breakfast. that was not the right thing for me to eat for breakfast, because that started, and that was the morning after I didn't sleep properly. And I was like, oh, I could go for a bowl of cereal. Well, that's how I started my day, instead of my usual like 20 gram of protein yogurt with like, some granola. That was way more well balanced than my Fruity Pebbles were. And so instead of
Right.
if I start my day like that, it's a snowball effect that I will continue to have urges throughout the day because I didn't properly fuel myself in the morning. So those are that's what leads me to it. But there's always that nighttime one. And it's typically, I have more of them throughout the day. If I'm not hydrated, I didn't sleep and I didn't properly, nourish myself in the morning.
Right. Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. I eat differently than Steph does, but I definitely know that if I'm dehydrated, I don't get my water in. I'm hungrier and I have more urges. So during an urge, I think it's important to talk about kind of during the urge. What I found in my own investigation is that my urges only last a couple of minutes, honestly. Like if I can just get through that couple of minutes with like justification of why I shouldn't instead of why I should eat, then it kind of goes away. And so I remind myself of that, like, oh, I want some chocolate. And then I'm like, okay, but in a couple of minutes, you're not going to want to go fold your laundry, go get a big glass of water, go take Sancho for a walk, whatever, to get my mind off of it. And then it usually just doesn't come back for me. Now, some people, it will talk to them over and over. And I think, that's just, and it did to me at first too. But now that I've worked through it a lot, it's kind of just so much easier. When before it was like, okay, go for a walk. Okay, chocolate's still there. Do my laundry.
Right.
Okay, the cake is still there. But now
Right.
I've just kind of taught myself to get through them and just be like, okay, well, I'm not gonna die because I didn't have this chocolate.
Right.
But I will feel like shit if I do, and it's just not worth it to me anymore.
Right. It's so funny listening to you say that, because today, in fact, I was talking to my stepdaughter, Chelsea, who's hanging out with me here now, but we were talking about she has a little bit of a fear of being going upstairs by herself. So we talked through it. She said she's afraid that something might jump out at her. And I'm like, has anything ever jumped out at you before? Like, what's the reality of that? So we talked through it. And she was saying that her therapist was telling her to use her senses, to think about other things. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of thinking about the bad thing that could happen, she said to her, count how many walls are in the room. She was counting the walls, doing things like that. And then she said to her, did you think about the scary thing at all while you were doing that? She said, no. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very similar hearing you talk about that. I'm like, okay, yeah. So if you're basically distracting your mind and
Mm-hmm.
taking it off of the thing that your mind is so hyper focused on, that cookie or whatever, like just do, what else can you do? What other sense can you use to take your
Right.
mind off of it? It's so funny how they're two totally different things, but completely the same process. Or for her to
Mm-hmm.
practice her breathing, deep breaths in, deep breaths out,
Deep
or they
breaths.
teach her to take her hand, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. And just something about the feeling of the hand and the breathing that makes
Mm-hmm.
you takes your mind off of things. So it's the
Right,
same thing.
because
Same
the
thing with
urge
eating.
is an urge, and it's like
Mhm.
it's your body wanting a hit of dopamine for some reason. And so if you can give it to yourself in another way, and now the way I get it is the pride of not giving into my urge. That is what satisfies me. But I will say there are some times that I'm going to give into the urge. There's times when I do give into the urge. And for me, now when I do it, it's totally worth it.
Right.
Like I really like if I'm going to give into an urge, it's going to be like nachos.
Right. It's going to be like
Like
something really good, not like a
right, it's going to
stupid
be something
Oreo.
really, really good. And
Right.
I've worked really hard on being able to, okay, if I want nachos for a couple of days, I'll put it on my plan, I'll eat it, move on with life. But I was at a baseball game the other day, and I didn't eat before I went. I was going to eat when I got home, but I just had an urge for a hot dog. just wanted a hot dog and a Dr. Pepper. And so, and that wasn't on my plan, but I had it anyways. I was at the baseball game. I wanted Dr. Pepper and a hot dog. And what I did is, instead of beating myself up on about it or making it this big dramatic thing, I just like neutralize it. Like, it's a hot dog and a Dr. Pepper. Okay.
Right. And it's
Like,
not a hot dog and a
I'm choosing.
Dr. Pepper every day.
No. And I chose to give into that urge at the time. And so I'm choosing the consequences of it. I had a little bit of a upset tummy, but I didn't say, okay, well, now this choice has to lead to another bad choice, another bad choice, another bad choice. And I don't even have to think about it again. I made the choice because I did all the steps. I took myself back. I breathed. I talked to myself about why or why not I wanted this hot dog, or why not I wasn't going to eat this hot dog. And I just said, because I want to fucking enjoy a hot dog at a baseball
Right.
game. Like,
Right.
and so, and I let it go though. So it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm going to, I ruined my diet and I have to work out harder tomorrow, or
Right.
I can't
Double
eat dinner.
workout. Yeah.
Like,
But that's
no.
very similar to being on vacation and eating the local cuisine. You're at a baseball game and you had a hot dog. Like, it's not like unheard of. Like, I can't believe you had a hot dog at a baseball game. Like, it's pretty
Right.
normal, but it wasn't on
Right.
your plan and you try to stick to that. But the thing is, when you think about it, you ate it, you made the decision to give in to the urge, you moved on with it, and you didn't continue to give in multiple times, whereas we would have
Right.
before. And you're
Mhm.
not beating yourself up over it. It's like, you know what? For this one time that I gave in, there was a dozen times before that that I did not, that I worked myself through it. So it's
Right.
like, okay, so
And
one out of
yeah,
a
like,
dozen ain't bad.
yeah, I didn't spiral out of control and have Chinese food the next day and pizza the next day. I was just like, okay, well, I had a hot dog at a baseball game. Like, I'm a
Right.
human. Uh,
Right.
and I'm going to give into urges sometimes. But let me tell you, giving into urges every single night versus once every couple of weeks is why I'm, in maintenance,
Right.
maintaining the weight that I want to be at.
And it's totally worth it. It's not like the stale donut from the, common area at the office.
Right. Which is so crazy that, like, I remember like eating, I don't even like Oreos, but I remember eating Oreos one day and I just stopped. I'm like, why am I even
Why?
eating these? I don't
They're
even
not
like
even
them.
that good.
They're not
Yeah.
even that good. Like, if I'm going to eat a cookie, at least
It
give me
better
a
be
nice
double
soft,
stuffed.
warm. It needs to be a warm, warm chocolate chip cookies. Like, if I'm going
Yeah.
to give in to that urge of a sweet thing, it's going to be good. And I mean, I have bakeries, as everybody knows. So I kind of have, all of the good stuff, but it's so weird when an urge comes up. You're just wanting that sugar, no matter what form it's in.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Or you're just wanting that carb, and no matter what form it's in. And when you think about it, save yourself for something delicious. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That you're going to enjoy. And be excited about it. It's going to be worth it. Because if
Right.
not, then that's when you spiral into these thoughts of, I'm never going to lose weight, and I'm never going to be able to deal with this, and all these just negative thoughts in your head that you have, rather than, listen, it was a hot dog at a baseball game and that's okay.
Right.
Or
Right.
it was a
Exactly.
warm cookie, chocolate chip cookie that Justy made. Like,
Right.
you're gonna get that every day. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And to make sure that it is worth it, number one, and number two, that you take your time. Because a lot of time with urges and things like that, it's like you're feeling kind of shameful, or whatever the case is, you scarf it down.
Right.
And then you're looking for something else because it's gone so fast.
Right.
So if you're gonna do it, then take your time with it, savor it, enjoy it, like,
Oh yeah.
chew
I took my
slowly,
time with that hot
make it
dog.
sexy. Right. Exactly.
I took my time with, I was at the baseball game by myself eating this hot dog like it was the best
Right.
thing I ever had.
Right, right, exactly. And that's the way it needs to be done. If you're gonna do it right.
I mean, I
So
put jalapenos on it. I did all the
yeah,
stuff. So, and it was
yes,
great. But it was interesting too, because I really enjoyed that hot dog at the moment. And I, made the choice. But what I also did was that I wouldn't have done before. So before, I would have beat myself up about it. Probably went to the McDonald's for a egg McMuffin in the morning because fuck it, and had Chinese for dinner. But now what I did is I analyzed it once I was done. I was kind of like, was it worth it? You know what I mean? And if it's not 100% like, oh yeah, it was totally worth it, which it was, maybe what could I do next time to not even have that urge though? Well, I didn't eat before I went to the baseball game, dumbass, right?
Well, so you knew you were gonna have to eat something there.
Right. I mean,
There's no way you were gonna sit there and not eat.
I wasn't hungry when I left, and so I was like, oh, I'll just eat something when I get home. I wasn't going to stay for the whole game because I was by myself. I don't like walking downtown at night. But but so next time I'm going to eat before I go, and maybe the urge won't come up.
Or put the hot dog on your
Or
plan.
plan the hot dog, right?
Right.
So, and those are so it's not just about working through the urge or recognizing it, but once you've given into it, or if you've given into it, and that's okay, it's kind of figuring out like, all right, if this happens again, if I'm in the same situation again, what is it that I'm going to do differently in order to maybe this urge won't come up? Because if I would have been full, I wouldn't have had the hot dog. Or if I would have planned it, I would have had the hot dog, but there would have been no thought around it. Like, this is on my plan. I'm going to have my hot dog, instead of trying to talk myself in or out of giving into this urge of a hot dog at the ball game.
Right. Poor hot dogs, villainized now. Hot dogs, cookies, and pizza. People are gonna be forever afraid to eat them after listening to us. That's our like villainized food.
Those are our things, right?
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. I still eat all of them, but
I mean, I do
everything in
too.
moderation.
And
And it would have been 2 hot dogs. In the past, it would have been probably 2 hot dogs and a
it would have
beer,
been
several
and a
beers,
beer, several
Yeah.
beers, maybe nachos,
and maybe an ice cream sundae and the little like
the dippy
plastic
dot things.
yeah,
Yes, like we would have had all, like, our mission was not to go watch baseball. It was to go eat all the food and the food's
Right.
not that good.
It's really not.
Like, the
No.
pretzels are stale,
Right.
whatever.
Half the
So
time they don't have the cheese. We
right,
got hot dogs, no ketchup. It's
right,
like, what's
right,
happening here?
right. So yeah, and then I think the kind of the last thing about urges that I typically I've learned to do, and I talked about a little bit before, is just move on. Just move on. It is what it is. If you gave into it, move on. Shake it off. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to die because of it. Just let it go. And I know it's so hard for some of us because we got in a situation of being overweight because it was all or nothing. That's what the diet mentality taught us. And as crazy as it sounds, a lot of us are perfectionists. Like, I had the most imperfect body you could find, but I was a perfectionist. My perfectionism got me there. And to me, that's just mind boggling. Like, I control so many things in my life, but this one thing
was out of control.
It was just out of control. And it was because I didn't have the tools and the mindset and the skills to perfect, not even perfect, but to
control
control it
correctly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because it was definitely an all or nothing. And the probably the scariest thoughts that come into my head now, and they still do, is, oh, I'll just do better tomorrow, or I'll just have this now and eat really healthy tomorrow. Those thoughts
work out tomorrow. Yeah,
they're still there. Anything that's kind of like better tomorrow is a sign that no, you need to make a better decision right now. Like, that's but the thoughts still come, and we also beat ourselves up because we're having these thoughts, but they're normal. And if we just understand they're normal, and instead of doing all that work to get rid of them, to do that work to understand why and how to deal with them our way, because everybody's different. Steph, you have a completely different experience than I do because you had the bariatric surgery, and you didn't have, my dog has something and I don't know what it is, and you didn't have who knows, you didn't have the urges for the beginning part of your weight loss surgery, but they came back.
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you, that's what a good solid year of it is what led me to 40 pounds of weight regain. It was a good year of urges that I gave into. And so that's the thing. So we're saying, like, to get on with it, move past it, but at the same time, not at like a level of where you're, accepting it every day. Because every day I was accepting of these urges, and every day I was
Mhm.
gaining more and more weight. So I'm 40 pounds. So
Right.
it's not like, yeah, okay, neutralize it, accept it, and that kind of stuff. And it keeps happening over and over again. Get control of it, but allow it every once in a while. It's okay every once in a while. Like
Right.
everybody's gonna give it.
Right. Everybody, and then and it is okay. And you just move on. It's
Right.
not that we put so much drama in our heads about, I mean, oh my God, I'm never gonna lose weight. I'm gonna gain all my weight back. Oh my gosh, this and that. And it's like, no, it's just a hot dog. Like, move on.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't know where that comes from. Um, I really just don't know where that
Diet
comes from.
mentality, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I was recently on vacation, and man, there were so many unhealthy people on the
Oh
cruise,
yeah.
and I just felt so I just felt such a desire to, like, I wanted to just go up to people and be
Speak
like,
the
"You
good
don't need
word
to
to
be
them.
hamburgers." Like,
But then I
but
feel like
also
I feel that way, but at the same time, it's like I feel kind of like judgy, but I also feel like appreciative that I'm not there anymore.
right.
But like judgy, but also like I want to help.
I feel
It's just a
compassion.
combination. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel compassion. And it's interesting because, I obviously have scars from my skin removal surgery, and I was in bathing suits, and, it had come up in conversation with a few different people of my weight loss journey. And it's so interesting because a lot of them were like, oh, well, yeah, when I get back, I'm not going to eat any sugar. When I get back, I'm not going to eat any
Okay.
carbs. I'm going to
Okay.
take this vitamin and that vitamin and do all this stuff. And I'm like,
Sure thing.
but that's not going to solve the problem. Like, are you drinking water? Are you getting sleep? Are you planning your food? Are you eating mindful? Like,
One
cutting
baby
out,
step at a time.
right, cutting out carbs the day you get home and sugar is only going to lead you up for failure. I mean,
Right.
it's just,
You'll drop like 5 pounds of like
yeah.
water weight that initial like
Mhm.
first week, but you're
Right.
gonna white knuckle it so bad that you're just
Mhm.
gonna that urge is gonna turn into probably a whole like food fest.
A spiral, and it will
Yeah.
spiral. And so it was just interesting how I was so proud of myself because I was able to battle my urges on the cruise. I went into it the mindset of, I'm going to eat things, I'm going to enjoy stuff. I'm not going to eat past full or even too full. I'm never going to feel full when I'm on the cruise. I think I did a couple of times, but and I came back losing a couple of pounds, and a pound and a half, I think it was. Um, and we worked out every day and did all the things, and that would not have been me before.
We
We've been on
tried
cruises
that,
together.
yeah. Because we
Yeah,
worked out a couple of times when we went on cruises too, but we weren't diligent. We did our part. We did what we the best that we could do at the
at
space
the
that we were
time.
in at the time. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
And we, tried to make some good choices, but that's just it. It doesn't happen overnight. We
No,
did make some good choices. We also made some really bad choices. So,
right, right.
so it's kind of like, we had the all you could drink package. So we made a lot of bad choices
Mhm.
when it came to like our food and drink selections, but we did make a couple of good choices. And that was how many years ago?
Like
8.
8 or so. Yeah,
Yeah, and
been
look
years.
at the difference from then till now, and it was just making all those little changes over time that got us to where we are now. It certainly didn't happen overnight. We didn't go home from that cruise and say, you know what, no more sugar, and poof.
Right. Exactly.
Not how it
We
works.
don't we don't do no more sugar. We don't do no sugar now after
Right,
losing all of our weight. We still eat
right,
sugar, we still eat carbs, we still eat things that we like. Uh,
right.
and it's just within moderation, and there's thought behind it, and it's not this, um
Dramatic experience.
dramatic experience, and just almost like, I have to have this. Well, you don't have to have it, actually. um
Right.
so so I
You
think,
want to have it,
right, you want it. And
and
again,
that's
we live in
fine.
a society where we're so used to having what we want.
Hmm.
And food is everywhere. And when, 30 years ago when I was a kid, we didn't go to McDonald's every day, or
We
at
didn't
least
even have
even
one
once
near
a
us.
week. I don't even
Yeah.
think we had one, yeah, in the town that I lived in.
We didn't
And
have any fast food near us, to be honest with
uh-huh,
you, where I grew up, and there still isn't a ton of it near because Jen and Matt still live in that house. There isn't a ton of it near there now. There's a handful. We just never lived, and we didn't go to really fast food. I was always envious of kids that had like their birthday party at McDonald's.
Right.
I was like, wow, that must be really cool.
Right.
What? I don't know. What? Why would I didn't think that? As a kid, I guess maybe, but yeah, I
Hmm.
never did have McDonald's birthday. What are you gonna do?
So I think I don't really know what time we're at, but I think kind of
We
for
got
a
a
wrap
couple minutes, yeah.
for the wrap up of urges, A is to learn how to recognize when your urges are happening. And I think that's, the most important thing, like recognize that it's going to happen, the times of days when it happens, and then understanding and giving yourself grace it's going to happen. So that's just how it is. And then having your plan of how you're going to get through it, and just being able to get through that first couple of minutes is a game changer when it comes to urges. And then
And
understanding, huh?
there was something I wanted to add to. I thought of it earlier and then I forgot, and now it's back again.
Perfect.
We're not journalers, but this is a
No.
perfect thing to journal about. So if you
Yes.
are, or if you want to be, or if you're like us and you're not a journaler, we kind of journal in our heads. We
Mhm.
go through the process in our head. I've just never been able to really grab a hold of it and like find it interesting or
Mhm.
benefit from it. And neither is Justy, not to take from people who do. But if you are someone who journals or think you might benefit from it, this is a good place to where all those spots where she said to recognize it, to normalize it, to make your decisions, to accept it, and plan for it. This is the things that you would journal about.
Right. Yes. And yeah, exactly. That's perfect. We go through it in our head. And there's a woman that I listen to, a podcast, and she's all about journaling and writing it down. I'm not there. I'm
I
not that
can't get
person.
behind it. Yeah. I want
I
to.
can't,
I don't know why I want to so bad. I'm like, I could do this. Like
because
I could
we're
get a
like
super cute
that.
journal.
It's the one thing that we don't
Yeah.
do. So of course we
Yeah.
want to do it. But definitely writing it down. And even for me, like when I go, I've started going to my salsa classes again, and I'm gonna be yay, and I'm gonna go to my socials on Saturday, and I know I'm gonna want to have a drink, and so I'm gonna plan one, sometimes two, never three. That's just gonna be my rules, and you know, anything after three, bad decisions happen, whether it's Juan Carlos or
We could
pizza
run the
right
gamut
now.
on that
Like,
one. Right.
you never know what's going to happen. So, that's just I'm going to give myself that grace of, okay, on Saturday night, have one, sometimes two, never three, done. And
I'm
they're
gonna get the phone call on Sunday morning if there's three, that's for sure.
right, right. I'll be like, oh my God,
Well,
guess what I did?
bad decisions. Guess who I did? I mean, what I did.
So far, I have a really dry 2023, so I'm not expecting anything exciting to happen in that area. So it's unfortunate, but I got this new body on. I can't even
Right?
run it.
It's like you're driving this Corvette around and it's going to waste.
Right? No shit. Anyway, so yeah, so I think just kind of like I said, having every situation you go into, having a plan, and that is my 8 o'clock at night, which is going to happen in about 45 minutes. I already have some protein pudding made. I have hot tea that I really enjoy. It's like a raspberry hot tea, so it has a little sweetness to it. And those are my choices. Those are my options. When that hits, those are my healthy options. And that it is what it is. I don't even have
Right.
chocolate in the house. So
Right. And
so
that's good for you that you choose what's in your house. Living with other people, I don't always,
right.
although I do the shopping. I was not alone when we bought the 5 pound bag of gummy bears yesterday. So
Oh no.
right, I have to forget and they're the good ones too. So I have to
Oh,
forget that they're there. It wasn't the small bag, it was the big bag.
nice. Yeah.
So that's in the house.
I get my gummy fix with my vitamins in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which I will say, this is just what Justy does. The other morning I was in a rush going to the gym. I was like, oh, let me grab my gummies, my vitamins. I didn't turn the light on in the kitchen.
To
So
grab melatonin.
who takes the gummy laxatives instead of the
Oh
gummy
shit.
vitamins? That was me. So
For your workout, yeah.
so it was a pretty shitty day, let's
Yeah,
just
to say the
say.
least.
It was a pretty shitty day, but yeah, that's just, my life.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I hope that this helped out with urges, and you have some things to do when they rear their ugly head, which they're going to.
They will, probably daily.
Probably daily. And there's urges in other parts of your life too, right? So
Yeah.
for me, it's shopping. And I'm saving for
Don't
my,
let me buy any purses.
and then I'm like, look at the purse I just bought.
Right. I'm like, I'm not there to stop you.
I
So
said that with shoes. And then there was a really cute pair of white big buckle Birkenstocks on sale for like $38. I had to
oh
buy
yeah.
them,
Yeah.
like I had to.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to save money for my skin removal surgery for my next round. And I'm like, okay, like it's halfway through the year and I haven't put any money back into my bank from my first one. So I
But you've
really,
got some super cute clothes.
oh
So
my gosh, right? I mean, I'm ready to go to the baseball game by myself or salsa dancing, I'm
and
gonna
meet up with Juan Carlos. Yeah.
right, right. Um, so
Anyway,
anyways,
I know what's coming.
what's next?
Here we go. Good thing that I talked to you about it and I asked you about it before we did this. It
Mhm,
is going to be hunger cues,
mhm.
the hunger scale, the hunger, whatever you want to call it, just kind of like how to really define and read what your body wants and needs based off of feeling true hunger. So,
Right. And fullness.
and
I think
fullness,
we'll probably
yes.
combine that, like hunger. How do you know when you're hungry? And how do you know when to stop eating? Because you don't know you're full until you feel full, but you don't want to feel full, right?
Right,
So it's
right,
kind of like how do you do that? How do you work your way to understanding what the portion is that'll get you to satisfied and not full?
right.
So I think that'll be fun. And yeah, so I guess we'll see you next time.
Yeah, sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.